Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and if you have big toys or big work, you're gonna need a big truck to accommodate them. And it's hard to get much more capable or much more comfortable than the Ford F-350 Super Duty. The Super Duty has been synonymous with getting things done for decades now, and this Tremor package 7.3 gasser with the King Ranch interior is one of the coolest and most comfortable and most capable ways to handle your toys, and your stuff. So I've been spending the last week with the truck, and full disclosure, we're not out on a ranch, we're not up in Wyoming or anything like that, and this marsh gray paint has stayed remarkably clean except for some birds who have decided to use it as a pooping ground. But other than that, the worn winch in the front has stayed fastened, the 35-inch Goodyear Wrangler tires have stayed clean, and the power running boards have been used simply to get us in and out of the truck here on the street. However, I did do some hauling with it. I did have some fun toys in the back in order to load up this suspension and feel how well it rides with some real weight in the back. And I can tell you the pros and cons here, living with the truck and using it here on a daily basis. Now, if you do want to see more on the F-350, check the link below. We've got a dedicated sound system review of the 14-speaker B&O Unleashed audio system in this truck, and I also ran a fuel economy test with this one, where we then also compared it with the last 7.3 Super Duty we had. That was an F-350 XLT, so without the 35-inch all-terrain tires, without the extra lift here in the Tremor package. So we can kind of see how that truck compares with this one if you think you want to have that extra look and that extra capability. So before we do get into my pros and cons, I want to go over a little bit of this truck in particular. The one you're looking at, about $101,000, which in today's day and age for a truck this capable here in an F-350 is not that crazy when you consider the last Ram 1500 Tungsten I had was $93,000, Silverado EV, $97,000. This one at $101,000, with the fact that you could do about 4,000 pounds of payload in the back, tow nearly 20,000 pounds. Yeah, it's actually starting to seem fairly reasonable. And when you're dealing with heavy-duty trucks, you don't have nearly as much EPA restriction in the engine, so it's going to be that much more reliable as well. This 7.3 Godzilla gasser is proving to be a pretty great powertrain. Now, you can get the F-350 Tremor with the 6.7 Power Stroke as well. We're going to talk about that a little bit here throughout the video. I think the 7.3 is the way to go for most people these days, but if you are going to do a lot of towing, maybe it makes sense for you to get the 6.7 Power Stroke. But we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But the Tremor package is one of my favorites from Ford. We've tested the F-150 Tremor, now we've got the F-350 Tremor here. What's cool about it is, yes, Raptors are awesome and they're great for high-speed desert running and off-roading and everything, but a Tremor package will do just about everything a Raptor will do at slow speeds. You've got the proper tires, and yes, these are filled up to 75 psi rear and 60 front because that is what you need in it to reach its full capability. But if you're going to take this thing off-road, drop it down to 30, 35 psi or so. Let these Goodyear Wranglers really crawl. Use the locking rear diff and the limited slip front diff. You'd be amazed at how much this truck is capable of. Now, yes, it's not going to be quite as comfortable. These aren't Fox live valve shocks or anything like that, but we do have some off-road tuned Bilstein shocks in the front, and then of course the leaf springs in the rear. So this is still going to be a rougher experience than something like a 1500 series truck. But again, if you need the capabilities of the Super Duty, but you want to be able to go off-road as well, Tremor is great. And then looking at the interior, we have the King Ranch package. And I've always loved the King Ranch because it's not quite as fancy as the top-level Platinum, but ever since they launched King Ranch back in 2003, and yes, I did briefly own a 2003 King Ranch 6.0 Power Stroke, the interiors have had so much character and charisma. And we don't have the same leather as those early 2000s King Ranches that was really cool, but a little bit hard to keep clean and nice. This leather still looks great. It actually has a very distinct smell in here. You've got brown headliner, brown leather, King Ranch bits all around, and plenty of the luxury features that you're going to want out of a truck at this price point. Ventilated seats, 360 camera, power adjusted steering column, memory seats, massaging seats even. So very, very nice place to be in here for many, many miles. Let's also give a shout out to the video sponsor, Lasfit, because despite this being an off-road capable truck, the floor mats that came in this King Ranch model were paltry. They were small. They were insignificant. So getting yourself a set of more heavy duty rubberized mats like this from LasFit is going to be a must for your truck. First of all, it comes out a little bit here and covers the King Ranch sill plate right here. That goes way up underneath, covers under the pedals. So when you're getting in here with your dirty, muddy, snowy, slushy boots, whatever they are, that's going to be covering the carpet. Same thing over on the passenger side. And then when you come into the rear, even here with the underseat storage, you've got these liners that cover nicely up under the seats. Admittedly, not quite as far as some of the other LasFit liners we've seen, but nice, flexible, durable material. And what's also important is you're going to want to be able to take these out and spray them off easily. So the fact that you can lift this out, pull it out, and then put it back in, very, very nice to have. So we put LasFit mats in just about everything we test, especially the trucks. It's nice and easy to keep it clean. And if we were actually able to go out and put this Tremor to its full testing and capabilities, we would appreciate that extra coverage from the LasFit liners. So if you want to get some coverage for your own vehicle, F-350 or other, check the link below. Use the code DailyMotor. I can get you a nice discount. Big shout out to LasFit. But we'll take more looks at the interior here once we get going. Let's take a look at the back of the truck. This cracks me up. We have 2 steps since this truck is so very tall. I mean, I'm 5'10", and the hood goes up over my chest. The outside mirrors are up at my eye level, and the bed right here would be that difficult to reach into. So I have not only 1, but 2 steps that I can use for getting in here, getting things inside the truck bed. And as I said, this is a 3500 series truck, which means it doesn't ride very well, especially at 75 PSI rear, with nothing in the bed. So I have something in the bed. This is my daughter's little ride-on toy, and this is the other sponsor of the video here. This is a fully licensed Ford Bronco, little pink ride-on electric truck from a brand called First Ride-On. You can find them on Amazon. Pretty much if you look up electric ride-on toy, they're one of the first ones that come up. So let me kind of use it as an example here to show off the truck. Now, obviously, this isn't nearly heavy enough to even be making a dent in the 4,000-pound payload of this truck, but you can see got a few tie-down points. This is the tonneau cover that comes from Ford, and it's a 4-fold because this is the 6.75 foot bed, so you can actually bring this tonneau cover all the way up like that. And this is how I had it when I had the Honda TRX 4-wheeler in here. You can kind of see this image. I took one shot when I was moving it earlier this week, but I had the tonneau cover flipped all the way up, and then you use these little guys, put them right there, latch it down, and then that keeps this tonneau cover up. But honestly, I'm kind of surprised we don't have a few extra hooks inside this bed. There's only these 2 front ones, and then these sort of adjustable ones there. We'll even use the old man step, which I jokingly call an old man step, but with a truck this tall, definitely nice to have. So the reasons I liked this ride-on toy as opposed to so many of the other options out there is it's 24 volt. It's quite a bit more powerful than the ride-ons that I had back in the day. You flip it on. Get a little bit of EcoBoost sound, I suppose, there from the Bronco. And it's got high and low speeds, front, rear. It also has a built-in radio here that Eve can listen to her Bluetooth music on. Mirrors that fold out, doors that open and lock, 2 seat belts, weight limit of up to 130 pounds. I think it's like 132 or something like that. Technically recommended for ages 3 through 8. But the cool thing is if your daughter or sons can ride in pink Broncos as well, if they're not very good at riding or driving, you can drive it for them. So you can see here, you can whip this thing around, it kind of gets away from you. It's almost kind of like just driving an RC car, but it's an RC car that you can throw kids into. And this one's dual rear motor. Now, admittedly, I would kind of like if we had quad motor, but then you can get it kind of off-road here. The motors are strong enough to get through some deeper grass. It's been a lot of fun. Obviously, I'm pushing it a lot harder here through this grass. Woo, there we go, there we go. And it actually does have a suspension on it. So if it's got some weight in there, got kids riding around, it'll give them a little bit of suspension. But you can see here, the girls love riding around in it. The boys love chasing them around in their other ride-on toys. If you live in a neighborhood or anything like that, a lot of kids around, I mean, electric vehicles have become so easy and accessible. This thing is so much cooler than the ride-on toys that I had when I was young. I mean, I would have loved to have the lights and the mirrors and the radio and the dual motors and everything like that. Tons of fun. First ride-on, check the link below. You can get yourself yours. I don't even think I get any commission or anything like that from them. I wanted this toy for my daughter, and she's loved having it. She loves playing around in it. The kids love having it. Pick yourself up one if you want something like this. They have a lot of different other models too. I think they do have an F-150 truck. I think they've got some other competitive brands as well, but this is the Ford Bronco. I actually talked with Alyssa. I said, should we do the Bronco Raptor? And we actually agreed to just do the normal Bronco, because even in kid toy form, the Bronco Raptor is kind of ridiculous looking. So we just went with the normal Bronco. It's been a lot of fun. So big shout out to First Ride On for sending us this. Lifted back all the way up here into the back of the Tremor, and my goodness, thank goodness for all of those different steps that they've got in this truck, because it is so tall. And as I said, I was hauling real stuff, four-wheelers and dirt bikes around with this earlier this week, and I certainly was using those steps. All right, now that our Bronco is fully secured in the bed of the F-350, I can hop down, throw this up. We do have an electronic tailgate, so I can do that. Close this one, and off we go. All right, so the first pro here on the F-350 King Ranch is the straightforwardness of this interior and really everything about the truck. It's so easy to just use it. Especially here in the year of our Lord 2026, cars are becoming more and more complicated just for the sake of standing out. We've got passenger rear screens, we've got touch capacitive buttons on steering wheels, we've got crazy shifter designs, but everything about the F-350 Super Duty stays easy to use. You hop on in, you got physical controls on the steering wheel, physical controls for your climate, your track, trailer brake controller, pro trailer backup assist, drive mode selector, four-wheel drive, cup holders, wireless device chargers, you name it. Everything in here just works and makes sense and is easy to use. I can't think of a single time throughout this week driving the truck where I've ever been confused or thrown off or frustrated by any aspect of the truck, because they've got so many decades now of just making the darn thing work, and Ford has done a really good job of just sticking to the simplicity. And it's effective. I love it for something. If you're using this as a work or a play vehicle that is a complement to your daily life, excellent. I'm gonna get in here now and fire it up. And you hear arguably one of the best truck engines on the market right now, the 7.3 Godzilla gas engine here in the Super Duty. The other engines from the other big truck manufacturers are good and fine. There's nothing wrong with them. But the 7.3 has been proven to have great power, great usability, and great reliability across the board. So while the 6.7 is also a great diesel engine option, you've got the high output and the normal output of the diesel, tons of torque, great fuel economy for a truck of this size, most people are going to be best served, especially in the Tremor package, by the 7.3 gasser for a few reasons. Firstly, simplicity in repairs and maintenance. Diesel engines are cool, but just based on how they are, and especially now with modern emissions restrictions, they take more upkeep, they take costlier maintenance, and when something does break, it's going to cost more to fix it. That's just the name of the game. You got to pay to play with diesel. Yeah, you can, if you live in an area where it doesn't do emissions restrictions or something like that, you could de-emission them, but still, even just the nature of the block itself and the engine, diesels require costlier maintenance. Even just an oil change on the 6.7 is going to cost significantly more than an oil change on the 7.3. So, while you might be saving a significant amount of fuel and cost at the pump, which, I mean, diesel typically costs more than 87 octane, so that might be a little bit more of a wash right there. But even so, even if you're saving fuel economy, you're going to be making up that cost in maintenance and oil changes. Not only that, but if you're using the Tremor for taking toys off-road, boats, four-wheelers, side-by-sides, what have you, you're probably carrying gasoline around already for those things, and you're already filling up with gas. So it's going to be more of a pain in the butt to go and fill up with diesel in the truck and then gas for everything else. And then on top of all of that, If you're using this truck for off-roading, the 7.3 gasser is significantly lighter than the 6.7 Power Stroke. So this truck's going to ride better, drive better, and behave better off-road and on-road technically than carrying around that big heavy engine. I think it's like an 800-pound difference getting the diesel with all its extra emissions equipment and the engine itself. So the 6.7, it's great that all the powertrains now for the Super Duty are significantly reliable and good, but I would recommend most people go with the gas. It's a great gas engine. I do have one caveat on it though, and that's going to come out in the cons section, so stay tuned. Next pro, the ease of driving this truck. Despite its amazing capabilities and the off-road tires and everything like that, the steering is light, the driving position is nice, it's got an active driving functionality on the highway that keeps you nicely centered in the lane, adaptive cruise control that works great, drive modes that make sense. Everything is surprisingly smooth and easy. It's essentially the most car-like heavy-duty truck on the market. And for some, that's going to be a pro. For some, that's going to be a cons. We're going to talk about it again in the cons section. But if you just want a truck that's just so easy to drive, I mean, I've been daily driving this truck. I took it for a few 100-mile trips, one of those towing motorcycles on the back and four-wheelers and everything. I mean, it's just easy. It really is. And it's amazing how far we've come with heavy-duty trucks that it can be this easy to drive. Next pro, as we get up here on the highway, is the quietness of this truck. We've got dual pane glass up here in the front, and once the engine kind of quiets down, aside from the whir of these all-terrain tires, the rest of this truck is surprisingly quiet. I mean, it's remarkable. Here we are, a concrete section of highway at 70 miles per hour. I mean, essentially all you hear is tire noise. There's virtually no wind noise and just the slightest bit of exhaust. So very, very happy with that. The last pro, the customization of the Ford Super Duty in general. If you want a truck to most specifically fit your needs here in the heavy-duty segment, you go with Ford. They're the only one, I believe, that you can still get a 4500 series, the F-450. I don't think you can get that from Ram anymore, and I definitely don't think you can get that from GM. So right there, the F-450 existing is a huge reason to go with the Ford. But then all of the different trims, all of the different ways you can lay them out, short bed, long bed, two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, the 6.8 liter gas is gone, but the 7.3, the 6.7, the 6.7 HO. So many ways you can configure the Super Duty, and they pretty much are all good, and they're all going to make sense for getting it just right down to how you want your truck. Yes, there's a good amount of customization with the other brands, but nobody does it better than Ford. Nobody's more comprehensive than Ford. Getting into our cons here for the F-350. And honestly, some of these are pretty minor because I do think a lot of this truck is very well executed, but if I had to complain, here are some. First off, the gauge cluster. This gauge cluster maybe looks appropriate in something like a 2.7 liter F-150, but on a heavy-duty truck like this, the almost cartoony font for the speed readout and everything, and the blue and the fake gauges and stuff, it just give me something that fits the Tremor a little bit more. There's so many you these days, especially you look at the Ram or something like that. The gauge cluster theme fits the rest of the truck, and while I would love to have real physical gauges even, I understand that those are kind of going the way of the dodo bird. But at least give me a theme that fits the truck a little bit more. And yes, if you do switch it over here into something like, let's go off-road mode, then we get different colors. Also shifts into four-wheel drive. There we go. I mean, that gauge cluster looks a little bit better, but still, it could go so much further into, oh wow, in the off-road screen, it actually stays up, even at high speeds. That's pretty cool. I don't want to be driving around in four-wheel drive here on the asphalt, but just wanted to show you the gauge cluster. So I could go for a more befitting gauge cluster for the rest of this truck. And speaking of screens, while I do love how this infotainment screen is nicely built into the dash, and it's simple and it's easy to use, Ford, beef up the processing power or something. I mean, this is a $100,000 truck, and anytime I change a menu or bring something up, there's lag. There's a delay for things loading, and you might not really notice it if this is your truck. You're like, oh, I don't notice any lag. That's because you're used to it and you're not looking for it. Touchscreens these days have no excuse not to work like a smartphone. I'm talking instant touch, 60 frames per second refresh rate. I mean, it should be high definition in a truck that costs like this. We're not talking about a base XL or XLT or something like that. We're talking about a $100,000 luxury truck. You can keep the same software and the same general layout. I don't mind that, because most people just get in here and they're using their wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. But beef it up. Give it a faster processor. Optimize the code or something. You've had sync now for so long. Make this a butter smooth experience on your screen. It'll benefit all of your vehicles. Next con, the 10-speed automatic transmission. It's fine, but I have noticed more herky-jerky shifts and more shifting than the other heavy-duty trucks I've driven. The 8-speed in the Ram Power Wagon is my ideal heavy-duty truck transmission. That one just works. It's smooth all the time. It doesn't need 10 gears. For the fact that these trucks don't go through EPA testing, I don't really understand why we need a 10-speed transmission. I know maybe it's just easier for Ford to put 10 speeds in everything, but 6 or 8 speeds, that's all we need with all the torque that this engine makes. The last con, and this one's really going to lead me into my wrap-up on this truck. This truck it's the accountant of heavy-duty trucks. It works so well. It's so well thought out. But because of that, especially when we're talking this Tremor package, it loses a degree of soul. Some people just need a truck for work. It's a tool, it's a utility. They just need to get in, they need it to work, they need everything to be straightforward, laid out. They park it at the end of the day, and it's the most they think about their truck. The Ford F-Series is fantastic for that. And again, when we're talking 1500 series trucks, I like the F-150 best because of that, because it practically feels like a car, and it just works so well for so much of the easy day-to-day lifestyle. But if I'm purchasing a truck like the Tremor, like the Power Wagon, like the ZR2 or the Z71s, anything that's got this kind of big, macho, charisma, lifted, look at me, go out, have fun sort of ethos, I want something that's gonna make me feel pretty cool. And I hate to say it, but the whole week that I was in the Ram Power Wagon with the 6.4 Hemi and the decals and the just the general vibe of that truck, I loved it. I felt like a badass. I felt a little bit like a douchebag, but I embraced it. I enjoyed it. It was cool. This Tremor has all the same ingredients, and it's actually a more heavy-duty truck, but I've never really felt that fizz and that cool factor here in the Tremor. It's just kind of going through the motions. It's like, yeah, I know it's capable. I know it can do all these things, but I kind of don't really care too much. Even with the King Ranch and stuff, it's just like, yeah, I understand it. I get it. It makes sense. And it really came to a head when over the weekend, my wife asked me, how do you like that truck? And every now and then she kind of checks in with me about the test vehicles and wants to hear my opinion and everything. And I had to really think about it, because I kind of came to the conclusion. I said, I'm not really going to miss it. Whereas, again, the Power Wagon, I missed that truck. That was cool. It left an impression on me. Even, I think it's been over a year since I've had it, and I still thought, that was a fun truck. This is not a fun truck. This 7.3 just works. It doesn't sound amazing. It just kind of, it does the job. It's very diligent, straightforward. So for the reasons that I love the F-150, and I think I would love more of the XLT version of the truck, which I did like the XLT when I had it, if you're going to pay extra and you're going to get the lifted truck with the off-road and everything like that, capabilities and the tires, get yourself a truck that's just a little bit cooler. The Super Duty's kind of a nerd. I hate to say it. Again, for some people, it's going to be fantastic, but some people want a little bit more pizzazz and character from their truck, and this is not oozing in character. So with that, we got to put it on the Daily Motor leaderboard. Current leaders on the DM leaderboard: Kia K4, Tesla Model 3, and Toyota Sienna. I'm going to put this one at the top of the just good cars, which would be kind of right here. Yeah. Probably, let's go 8th place, above the Ioniq 9, below the Lamborghini Urus. Because again, This truck doesn't do anything wrong. It's just missing that fizz to kind of bump it up into the top level of cars that I test. And then let's put it on the Charlie ranking as well. How I have enjoyed the truck from a personal standpoint. Current leaders of that list: Silverado EV, Tesla Model 3, Lamborghini Urus. I mean, I love the capability. Not going to really miss it. Let's go below the Sienna, above the TX. 13th place. I bet some of y'all didn't expect that. But like I said, it's missing the cool factor to justify both the cost and going with the Ford over some of the other brands. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on the F-350, check the link below for our sound system review and our fuel test on this one. Big shout out to both LasFit and First Ride On for sponsoring the video. And we will see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.